Get rid of procrastination forever. Keep watching. This is Life Mastery Gym. I'm Damon and I teach people just like you cutting-edge NLP processes so that you can master your life and take charge of your destiny. So if that sounds good, make sure you click the subscribe button so you can get these videos on a regular basis. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 possible causes for procrastination and what you can do about it. Now, the first thing that I see most often is people are more focused on what they don't want than what they do want. And so when you're doing something like exercise to lose weight, to be healthier, as an example, what I notice is people don't have a very compelling and powerful vision about what they want. They might just be thinking, well, I don't want to gain more weight, or I don't want to be heavy, or I don't want to be unhealthy. And when you're focused on the negative, on what I don't want, and you get clearer and clearer about that, your unconscious doesn't really know the difference between what you want and what you do want. What it does know, though, is it wants to move you toward clarity and away from confusion and chaos. So when you're very clear and very focused on what you don't want, your unconscious is going to keep taking you there. And the other thing too is, where does motivation really come from? Well, it comes from what you want. It comes from fulfilling the values of what it is that you want. So if you want to lose 20 pounds, or you want to make more money, or you want to have more friends, so you wouldn't want to focus on things like, well, I don't want to be lonely, I don't want to be broke. You want to be focusing on, well, what is it that I want, or what is it that these things would give me? So if I had more money, what would that do for me? And go really deep with that. Or if I had more friends, if I had more connections, what would that do for me? And go really deep with that, and then create a vision out of that. When you have a very, very compelling vision, that will naturally motivate you. When it's very clear what you want, your unconscious will naturally take you there. So get a very clear vision about what it is that you want, and that'll focus your attention in the right direction. It'll also make it very, very clear, and it'll make it motivating and compelling. And most people don't do this. When people come to me for coaching, when I ask them what they want, we usually spend the first 20 minutes getting clear about that, because they keep telling me what they don't want. And that's part of the problem. You're not going to go very far if you can only think about what it is you don't want. So put it in the positive, make a compelling vision about what it is that you want, and instantly you will get a lot more motivation to do that. Now, the second thing that I found very often is that people aren't very clear about what they want versus what other people think they should want, or what it is maybe that is valued by the society they're living in or the culture that they're living in. So for example, if you are not very athletic and you don't value that, you're not into sports, and you put yourself around a lot of people who are. So maybe you grew up in a family who everybody's really, really into sports, and you're just not. You value health, you value being in good shape, but you don't value it to that extent, to that athleticism. But you think you should, because that's the kind of people you grew up around, and all you heard from them was, you should do this, you should be more athletic, you should do more sports. It can get confusing about what really is your value in this and what is someone else's value that's being imposed on you. And so you'll see this in cultures, you'll see this in society, or you'll see where, somebody, they want to make a decent amount of money, they want to make a decent living, but it's more important for them to be happy and really love the work that they're doing. But they've been told since they were a kid, you should be a lawyer, you should be a doctor. And so they go do that. And then they wonder why they're not very successful as a doctor or a lawyer. And the same goes for any type of business. If you're just in it to do the work that makes you happy and make a decent living, those other things aren't going to be very important. So of course you're not going to be as successful if you're doing something that you don't really enjoy. This happened to me when I became an insurance agent, and it wasn't that there was a lot of pressure on me to become an insurance agent, but that was what my father had done. It worked out very well for him. And I just thought, I want that freedom, I want that success, I want that money. But what happened was I traded out 2 of my other values, passion and joy, in the hope of freedom. Well, when I got into that job, or when I got into that business, it was my own business, it was not fulfilling at all. So not surprisingly, I wasn't very successful at it. So not only did I not get passion and joy, I also didn't get my freedom because I wasn't very successful at it. So these are the things we want to be careful about. If I want something and then I'm not very motivated toward it, well, maybe it's not really something that I want, or maybe the value is misplaced. Maybe the value that everybody tells me that is the reason I should want this isn't really the reason that I want it. And maybe I still want it. Maybe I still want it for another value, and I need to find out what that is. And so I would recommend the same process of asking yourself, okay, what does this do for me? If I got it, what would it do for me? What would be important about having this? And really go deep with that, and you'll start to uncover what are your values separate from your culture, from whatever society you're living in, or maybe even pressure from parents or extended family. So get clear about that. Get clear about what your values are. And it's okay to pursue something that is linked to a value that's outside of yourself, as long as you understand that and you understand the motivation behind it. If you understand that and you still want to pursue it because you want to make other people happy, go ahead, but understand that this might not be a value that really makes you happy yourself. And if you're only making other people happy and you're not making yourself happy, chances are not only you're not doing well for your life, but you're also not being your best for other people. So it's really the best thing to do is to really know what does it for you. What are your values? Get very clear about that, and you will always be happy. You will always be motivated toward fulfilling your own values. You know what you value in life. Therefore, that itself is the motivation for getting it, for doing it. So for example, if I value helping people and that makes me happy, those are two values right there, helping people and being happy. I don't have to look for the motivation to do that. The motivation is built into it. It makes me happy to do it. So of course I'm going to do it. Think of the things that make you happy. Do you need motivation to do those things? No. Are you going to procrastinate in doing those things? Absolutely not. And so there are some things that we do have to do that maybe we don't enjoy, but we can look at those things as being connected to higher values. So maybe I'm working towards something bigger. I'm going to school and I'm working toward a particular profession that I do value, I do enjoy, but until I get there, I have to work a kind of a crappy job that I don't like. Well, what you can attach to that crappy job, well, first of all, know that it's temporary, and then put it in alignment with, well, through this process of working this crappy job to put myself through school, I then get to do what I value most. And so when you align that to the value, when you align the crappy job to the value, then it becomes something different. Then you become motivated to do it. The same thing goes with eating healthy and exercising. If you know how it's going to make you feel, and you value how being healthy makes you feel, and you value the way that your body looks, and you value that you want to live a long and healthy life, especially for your family, your kids, your spouse, then you align the behavior, eating right and exercising, to those values. And when you do that, the motivation is implicit. You will naturally do these things without procrastinating because they're linked to your highest values. Now, the third thing that can be happening when you're procrastinating is you're getting your values crossed, or there's a misunderstanding there. And this happens a lot because we have parts of us that might have gotten isolated from the rest of us when we make certain decisions when we're a kid. So something happens, and when I say, the reason why I say when we're a kid, it can happen when you're an adult too, but what happens a lot of times is when we're a kid and we make a decision about something, it often goes unconscious. And so we don't remember making this decision, we don't remember pursuing this value. But what happens is usually in childhood, something happens and you say to yourself, wow, I definitely don't want this to happen again because it was painful or it hurt. And so you make a choice and you say, okay, I'm going to go in this direction, or I'm going to be lazy when somebody pressures me to do something because that's what makes me feel good, and I don't like what this other person is pressuring me to do. And so that might be a way of pushing back. And This value could be that you're standing up for yourself, and the strategy for it is to be lazy and not do your work. So this sounds very childish, but again, this is when a lot of this stuff happens early in childhood. And so later in life, when your parents aren't there or the pressure isn't there from some sort of authority figure and you're parenting yourself, you can then get into this back and forth within you. You have a parent part of you and you have a child part of you, and they're going back and forth. Now, what do you do with this? Well, what really needs to happen is you need to integrate these two parts of you so that you can become the adult you are and know that, okay, if I'm not doing the work I know I need to do, well, I'm also the adult and I'm the child. So who am I hurting here? Who am I standing up for here? Who am I pushing back against here? We're all one and the same person. And this is what we call in NLP parts integration. So what you want to do is when you feel like you're procrastinating and you've done the first two processes that I mentioned, you're very clear about what you want, you know the values behind what you want, you are aligning the behavior to the values, and there's still this procrastination and you're not sure where it's coming from. Well, then what you want to do is you want to go to that part of you that is resisting doing whatever it is that you want to do and ask it. Say, what is your positive intent? And another word for positive intent is value. But ask that part of you, welcome that part of you. Don't shun it. Don't, like, people come to me and say, I just want to get rid of this part of me. Well, this is a part of you. That's like saying, my hand brings bad food to my mouth and then I eat it. So I want to get rid of my hand. That would not make any sense at all. So your inner parts work the same way. So you want to go to that part, welcome it, acknowledge that this is a part of you, acknowledge that this is a part of you that is doing something good for you, or that its intent is positive for you, and that it probably made a decision when you were a child to do whatever it is that you're doing, and now you need to update this. Now you need to let this part of you know how old you are now, and that things are different. You're not being pushed around. You're not being parented anymore. You're an adult. And then ask the part of you, what is its positive intent for you? And what is its positive intent in resisting? Another way you could ask it is, what is its message for you? What does it want you to know by resisting doing whatever it is that you want to do? And then you listen. And it doesn't always come out as a message, like a voice or anything like that. And another thing that will probably happen is your conscious mind always wants to fill in gaps. You ask a question, your conscious mind wants to jump in and give an answer. And so go ahead and let your conscious mind do that. Let your conscious mind jump in with an answer, and then keep waiting and keep listening. Your unconscious will bring you an answer. And when it does, you might need to question it further. What will that do for you? And what will that do for you? Or what's important about that? And go a little bit deeper and really find what is that value behind the resistance. And once you know what that value is, most of the time that in itself makes it able to integrate into your overall values of what it is you're trying to do, because your highest values don't conflict. Your highest values will fit together perfectly, because that's what every one of your decisions is driven by a value, and all of those values are driven to integrate with each other so that you become one whole human being functioning as a whole human being all together. So it's like, you probably have heard the saying, I think it was by Rumi, that all drops of water want to go back to the ocean, like the mother of all water. And your parts are the same way. All your parts want to integrate back into who you are. So get friendly with this part of you that's resisting. Find out what its value is in resisting, and then find out, ask it, say, well, this is the value that I'm trying to get in doing this. Would you help out in this area? How, what kind of job could I give you? And maybe you find the creative part of yourself, and you ask the creative part of yourself, how can we integrate all of this? How can we use this, what this part of me is intending, and give it a job to work with everything else? Now that's kind of a vague way of talking about it, because there's a few different ways of actually doing that as a process, as an NLP process. One of them is called the visual squash. But another way of doing this is through the self-concept model, Steve Andreas' self-concept model. It's a very elegant way. It's a little more involved, but it's a very elegant way of conflict integration. And by learning what your values are, by understanding what that is, by understanding what's resisting what you are overall trying to do, you can then begin the process of integration. And that's ultimately what we want for ourselves, is to be fully integrated. And when you're fully integrated, procrastination no longer is a problem. I get people saying to me all the time, like, wow, I just don't understand how you get so much done or you do so much. And it's not that I don't procrastinate from time to time. I do, but I know what that's about. A lot of times procrastination is, for me, is a part of me saying, you need to take a break. Like, you can only get so much done. You only have so much capacity. And if you wear yourself too thin, then you're not going to be good in everything else that you're doing. You're just going to be tired through the whole thing. So a lot of my procrastination is, I take, and it's often correct, as a part of me saying, you need to relax. You need to take a break. You need to recuperate. And so the more you integrate, the more that will be the only time that you procrastinate, is when you need to take a break, because otherwise you have lots of energy. The fewer conflicts you have, the more energy you're going to have. The more integrated you are, the more efficient you become at getting things done. So now you know a lot more about how to overcome procrastination. It has to do with knowing yourself a lot better. So what you have now is an understanding of how to clear that path and how to go after what it is that you want. But what you don't have is a better understanding of what are the healthy elements of a self-concept, or what are the elements of a healthy self-concept. This is super, super important. So what I've created is a free PDF where I give you basically a checklist of all of the elements of a healthy self-concept. And you'll be able to access that immediately when you go to the link that's in the description. Also, you'll see there's a pinned comment at the top, and there's a link there. You just click on one of those links and it will bring you to it. You can get immediate access to this checklist, and I urge you to do that, because the more healthy you are, the less you will procrastinate, the more connected you will be with your own values, not other people's values. And in doing so, you will be much, much more motivated. If you like this video, make sure you click the like button right here. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button, as well as the bell, so you'll be notified when I put new videos out. If you know of someone who you think would like this video, make sure you pass it on to them. Take care.